Hello, my name is Peter Trenikost. I am your GIS digital specialist, and today I am going to teach you how to use interactive maps to teach the Corps of Discovery, Lewis and Clark, and Sacagawea with your first grade students. So the learning targets for this video are to understand how to access the Westward Expansion and the Corps of Discovery map, and then use the story map to teach standard 1G1 and 1H1. So this is really targeted at first grade. Although I will tell you that I use this map with my APUSH students. I've used it with honors and on-level U.S. history students. And so anywhere that Westward Expansion, Lewis and Clark, Sacagawea fit into the standards, this is going to be a fantastic way to teach your students those important things. But this one I am going to target to the first grade. So why story maps and why this map? It is really about the power of where. I talk to this about my students all the time is I can talk to you about battles, I can show you, images, but until you can kind of get a sense of the scope of things on a map, you don't necessarily have the full understanding of what was going on. And this particular story map does an absolute incredible job of including images that are from the Corps of Discovery and then what these sites look like today. So this interactive map really will help your students see the journey that Lewis and Clark are going to take. And this is highly engaging. And while I am targeting this for first grade, and so as a teacher, you are going to want to kind of facilitate this as students' tech skills are not really there, you can start to build this. And in some cases, if you have a one-to-one environment or you can get access to a computer lab, you could really just put a map up and kind of let them mess around. And I promise that they are going to love having the option and the ability to use this technology to see some really cool things. So let's get into how you are going to access this particular story map. The fastest and easiest way to get to this particular story map is just to go do a simple Google search. So I am just going to Google search for Westward Expansion GIS. And this is going to give me, of course, a number of things that I don't necessarily want. And you could also just type in Westward Expansion and the Corps of Discovery, and that will take you right there as well. But you'll see once we get past the videos, the first hit we have is Westward Expansion and the Corps of Discovery. And this is the story map that we're going to explore today. So I'm going to click on this story map, and you're going to see that it's going to pop up, and there's going to be a ton of information on here. And there might actually be some things that you don't necessarily want to use with your students. Maybe you're not there yet, they don't necessarily know these things. And so I want to take you just through how you are going to do some basic functions, and then we'll talk about how you can use this to teach. So over on the left, you see the key. You kind of get a sense of all of the different information that is already on this map. There's also a number of things on the map here. We can kind of get a sense of these red circles or red targets or mountain passes. We also see key site locations, the Corps of Discovery route, and then down here we can actually see that this is giving us the current flight time today. And so the very first thing that I would do if I was teaching first grade is I would turn off all of the layers that you don't need, and then I would add ones that you can kind of surprise your students with. So over on the top right here, there is a layers list. I'm going to click that layers list, and you'll see that everything that was on the left, every part of that key is here, of the legend is here. So as this is first grade, I'm going to probably turn off all of these different territorial expansions, except for the ones that we are particularly looking at. And I would start this most likely with just a map of the United States. So I'm really going to kind of turn everything off, and I'm going to just elicit my students' ideas on the map of the United States and how we obtained the map of the United States. And then I would start to add those layers. So the first one that I'm going to add is the Treaty of Paris. Here you can make connections to the revolution that you have talked about. And then, of course, we're going to get into the Louisiana Purchase. And so here's a good, just a good thing of like, why would the United States want to expand? And why do we think that some of these areas are going to be important to the development of the United States? So here I click on the Louisiana Purchase and give a little talk about how the U.S. is going to obtain this and talk about why we did, especially focusing on the city of New Orleans. And that's going to be important because one of the things you're going to notice is, especially when you look at the westward route, you may ask your students, what do you think the best way to go is from St. Louis to the Pacific, or even should we go to the Pacific if we don't add or own that territory at this time? And they're going to give you some good answers. They might not understand the geography of the Rocky Mountains. They might not also understand that traveling by boat is going to be the easiest way to do this. So then you can bring up the Corps of Discovery westward route. And here you can have that conversation with them about the importance of those waterways, as that is going to facilitate travel. And then you can also talk about the difficult nature of this journey via mountains. And the beautiful thing, the thing that I like the most about this particular story map is that it is going to give you images that you can show your students about exactly how this territory is hard to navigate. So the next thing I would do is turn on my key site locations and my mountain passes. And then now we can really dive into what the Corps of Discovery did, where they went, when they left, who they interacted with, and we can look at images of what this journey looked like. And so each one of these targets is going to have information on it. We can even just talk about when they left, right? So here they're leaving on December 8th, 1803. They're departing to the west. Here you've got an image. If you click on more info on any of these, you will actually pop up that picture. So you can bring this up and you can talk about Lewis and Clark. You can show them what they looked like. All you have to do is close the tab that opened, and now you can start to go to each one of these stops. I probably would not do this with my first grade students, of course. I would just choose the highlights or the ones that you really want them to get a sense of what the geography looked like and why the geography is important. And so here, again, it's showing you western departure. So when they left from this part heading west, and you can even just ask, how long did it take them to get from point A to point B? And so a little bit of info, the Corps of Discovery travels past the furthest western white settlement and into Indian and unmarked territory. So again, if this is one you want to focus on, you can pull up this picture, and here you have a great image of the Corps of Discovery. And now you can have a conversation about how they are traveling. What are they bringing with them? What are they traveling on? Why do you think that they're traveling this way? Why aren't they on horseback? Why aren't they doing these other things that they could do? Some of the other things that I really like about this particular map, again, are that focus on the images. And so especially as we get into the Rocky Mountains and we get to the kind of difficult passages, here it will show you when they get to a particular place, who they're interacting with, and then we can click on the continental divide. And now you're starting to even bring in those geography standards. You're building some things that your students will be able to use in the future. Click on more info. Here's that picture. Ask them to describe this. Ask them to think about what this looked like. Ask them if they've ever been to hills or mountains like this before. What was it like? What was that journey like? So here is the Lost Trail Pass. It is also giving you elevation numbers. You can even just talk about how high you would have to travel. Here we've got another elevation number, so you can kind of get a sense that in the middle they're going to reach their highest elevation before they start coming down again. Here they are at Traveler's Rest for preparation of crossing the mountains. Open this up, and again we get these really good images. You can have conversations about who they're interacting with, why they're interacting with these different folks. So all sorts of inquiry can occur simply based on this one map that is going to bring the Corps of Discovery's journey to life. And then, of course, you can talk about the end, and you can show them what it looked like, where they stopped, when they reached there, and when they kind of left to head back. Many of them have probably not been to this part of the country, and if they have, that's great, because then you can elicit their responses. I'll tell you, as somebody who pretty much only spent time at the Pacific Ocean, coming to the Atlantic was way different when I moved to Georgia. And then you can do some basic math maybe in terms of distance. So I do want to show you, while this will have like departure and arrival times, maybe you want to measure something in terms of how long that journey was. So you can click on this measurement tool, and then you can click on two of these spots, and it will show you the distance between them. And you can do multiples if you want to. You can actually just kind of go along and travel here, and you can measure the whole length of the journey. Double click and it will stop, and it will tell you how long it traveled. And so this could be the cool final kind of closing exercise for this particular one in terms of how long did it take and how far was this journey, and then you turn on that flight time. And now you can bring in some modern technology and you can say, okay, that's how long it took. That's the path that we had to go back in the day. Now you can fly from St. Louis to Portland, Oregon in about 4 hours. And Portland is 2 hours from Fort Clatsop driving. So a trip that took 1 year, 6 months, and 1 day now takes 6 hours. So this map is just going to be a totally interactive and visual way for students to understand and learn a ton about the Corps of Discovery. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that you really see the importance and the value of this geography and these geography skills and this power of where. I promise you can easily facilitate this, and your students are going to enjoy being able to explore these maps. Thank you so much for watching, and please do not forget to follow us on social media.